So, you kind of touched on something there, which, I don't know whether to be sort of utopian or dystopian in where this stuff's going to go. I love shows like Black Mirror and the movie, Ready Player One, and all that sort of stuff. And it's mostly dystopian in a lot of ways and maybe that's just because that's what sells in the Hollywood world. But if what I see. First of all, the technology is fascinating and the future is fascinating. And if it's just entertainment and then you go back to your reality, it seems like it's pretty benign. But I think we're going to get more and more symbiotic with technology, right? As you kind of alluded to earlier with implants and, where you could almost say with our cell phones now, we're almost, we're not physically attached to them, but we always have earbuds in our ears. It's always in front of our faces. We're always listening to something with Google Glass and Apple Glass later. We're going to be seeing through augmented lens. So it's almost like you could say it's starting now. I guess what I'm seeing that's kind of worries me is the deviation from human interaction. We're social creatures, right? Our brains, our DNA hasn't evolved. We still require physical touch and hugs and get into a fist fight on the playground as kids to know what to say, what not to say. All the tribal adaptations that created us, or the social cues, and we still require that. Unless our genome is going to accelerate this massive change, which I don't think it does. I mean, it takes thousands and thousands of years for, or I don't know, our DNA to alter and change and our biology to adjust to things, right? And so that's what kind of scares me is you kind of look at our, even I always give the food example, our bodies still require the same type of food, whole grain, non-processed stuff that we would find in the ground. And all of a sudden, for-profit agriculture and our bodies are like, it's not good. A lot of us are so unhealthy now because, our bodies are still expecting the old way to eat and now the for-profit stuff. So, you take that and you add on this social complexity of this digital world, and we still have the same old minds and brains and social requirements. So I don't know. I try to be optimistic, but I feel like the metaverse is just going to make that worse. This just you look at and I want to be positive, but and maybe it's like anything else where you need to take technology with the right amount of dosages, and then you have to get outside and play or whatever it's going to be, but I'm also trying not to be that old kind of curmudgeon, get outside, put your phone down. It's like, well, I don't know. I don't know where that balance is going to be. So I just feel like there is an absolute non-relative perspective, which is us as humans have a, whatever you believe in, creationism or evolution, doesn't matter. We've obviously evolved a long time to get to where we are, in my opinion. Anyway, I think most people's opinion. I don't see how that's going to accelerate or catch up to technology. Yeah. Anyway, I'm kind of blabbering there, but you kind of get you see what I'm saying?
I agree with you.
How do we sync up those
I
two?
agree with you that our our ability to evolve genetically is far, far, far slower than our ability to evolve technology, intellectually and even experientially. And our bodies are not ready for that. Our bodies, we need to. And it's all the things that we heard from the very beginning. When television was first invented, parents and grandparents would tell us, "Oh no, you only 1 hour a day. You sit there, you'll rot your mind," and all those things. And then it happened again with the internet, and it's only gotten worse. And the metaverse is yet another. I want to call it temptation. The fight between good and evil for human beings, for the human soul, if you will, is absolutely all about temptation.
Yeah.
Right? Intellectual temptation is no different than, and no less addictive, by the way, right? Than food, addiction or anything else. If we overdo any part of what makes us a human being, right? Whether it's extreme athleticism or overeating or, over intellectualizing, it's unhealthy. That's not what we are as human beings. We want to be able to experience these things. We're not going to slow technology down, but we need to keep technology in perspective for our individual personal lives and our social life. Now that kind of a statement opens up all kinds of danger, in the sense that, oh, okay, so the old one will say, okay, yeah, that means we put up fences, we put up boundaries. No, you can't do this, you can't do that, right? We'll put up all the
Yeah.
no's, and that's not the right answer either. Human behavior has never responded well to that, but what we have to remember
Exactly.
is
Yeah.
what is important to us as human beings. As you point out, human interaction, hugs, being with real people, feeling it's a different feeling, or even just family. How do we interact with family? I think that's one of the the biggest complaints now, because the kids are all stuck on their phones, and just
Yeah.
10 short years ago, it wasn't stuck on their phones. It's stuck on their laptops, and then iPads, and
Yeah.
and it's because games and entertainment, especially in America, are just, again, one of the ultimate temptations. It's so easy to lose yourself, and Homer,
Oh yeah.
the famous Greek poet, right? The lotus
Yeah.
eaters, the land of the lotus eaters. It was entertainment. It was about
Mm.
being in this entranced state where you were simply given over to pleasure. And if you ate the fruit, and we call it now drink the Kool-Aid,
Yep. Yep.
yeah, you can lose yourself. And if you lose yourself, then you'll never get out of it. So we
And
can
that's the
never lose
danger.
ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but that's you touched on something so
No, no.
important there. But even you bring the Homer example, and then you fast forward to today, where games and the future, whatever it's going to be, in Metaverse, these software development companies have psychologists on staff as well, because they know
Oh,
exactly
yeah,
how to hack
yeah,
our dopamine receptor. Like, they know what color,
yeah.
what sound to make to click that. I mean, so you know, I was talking to my wife about this a while ago, and I was just looking at some of the games our kids are playing, and the most benign game ever.
Yeah,
They're just playing, it's fun, but I could see their eye, their pupils are dilating, and they're just
yeah,
like, gotta,
yeah,
and
yeah,
then
yeah.
like the battery will die on it, and it's like they got
Yeah.
shot in the face, like, oh, they were in, what I mean? It was like,
Yeah. No,
and you
it's
just,
absolutely true.
it's unbelievable how effective and efficient, the technology is to keeping you hooked. And we do it. It
It
happens to us
is.
as adults too, with the algorithms and YouTube,
Yeah.
and hey,
Oh,
you like
yeah.
this? Is this
Oh,
getting you
yeah.
excited? You click on that, I'll give you more of that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah,
almost
yeah,
like
yeah.
that. I agree with you. I like your point of that. These are all temptations that we have to stay grounded and understand. You just have to
Yeah.
have that solid base, so then you can go, like anything else, just have a solid base, whether it's a good social network, a good self-image, and then you go out into the world, and these things become, you become more adept at in interacting with those things in a healthy way. You young girls on their phones
Yeah.
in bed at night, or the suicide discussion, all this stuff is so sad,
Mhm.
and it's like,
It
because
is.
they're just, maybe they don't have. So I don't know. I just, that balance is always something that worries me a little. But you're right. You framed it as a temptation, which it resonated
Yeah.
with me, because it's almost like we have to be grounded, like anything else, to resist at the right level these temptations, whatever they might be.
Yeah. And
But
that's
it's
the
interesting. And
point. It is about,
yeah. No, I was just going to
go
say
ahead.
what's almost, it's a little bit tough about this one too, is that because it's just like addiction to food, right? Where, say, oh, if you're addicted to heroin, stop doing heroin. It has no biological benefit. But if if you say you're addicted to food, right? Addicted to food is
Yeah.
tough because you need it to survive, right? So
Yeah.
technology, I put in that category as well, because the most, we need it to be productive. We need it to work. I mean, I'm in front of a computer 15 hours a day, 11 of it's probably work, so it's like the balance of
Yeah.
it's temptation, but it's also what you need to sort of live in a sense. So that's a hard balance. You can't just say no technology. That's not a thing. That those days are long gone.
No, no,
So
that's right. Yeah, no, we can't be ignorant, right? And we have
mm,
to learn. We have to keep up, or at least try to keep up. But again, it is about understanding a pattern rather than getting lost in the detail. And
yeah,
going back to the core topic here, people get lost and get what is it? Distracted. That's the word. Get distracted by all the technobabble, all the words that they don't understand, and that just means the mystique is greater. And of course, there's fascination with that, but there's also fear with that. And all of that is you got to get past that. You got to try to understand what is the essence of what's going on here. So this is why there's so many scams in the cryptocurrency world, and everybody says, well, it's blockchain. Blockchain is evil. No, blockchain doesn't know good from evil. Blockchain is simply a mathematical construct. Cryptocurrencies are a mathematical construct. Now, the problem is some of them are just built evil. Well. Yeah, some people are just not so nice. And some of the constructs are not very well done, and so you got to take your chances, but you want to be intelligent. You need to know what is happening. And by the way, just in this, I want to give a plug to another organization here in San Francisco that I find quite interesting. It's called the Center for Humane, HUMANE, Technology, and it started by a former Google and Facebook employee, a very senior guy. His name is Tristan something or other. Really interesting
Harris.
organization.
Tristan Harris?
Yeah, Tristan Harris. There, yeah.
Yes.
It's Tristan Harris.
Yep. Yeah.
That's an interesting topic. Someone maybe you want to talk to at some point, or someone in his organization, because they're really trying to do something to surface this kind of discussion.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. Yeah. And I think, well, that's another thing that fascinates me is, and we'll wrap up here in a second. I know we've been going over an hour. Is the morality or ethics of AI? I think that's I've done a few podcasts on that. I think it's a fascinating concept because it really pulls it. It's a hard problem. That it's a really hard problem to solve, but it gets pretty crazy pretty quickly when you start thinking about some of our ethics and some of our biases and how it gets into some of these algorithms, even unbeknownst to us, or if the algorithms learn certain things and they become biased on their own. It's so interesting. So interesting. But yeah.
You mentioned it earlier that. Yeah, the problem is all the best companies have really, really smart psychologists, and the field of psychology has evolved to just a tremendous degree, where both on the academic side as well as the applied side, industrial, commercial applications, that they know how to hack into our brain. They know how to manipulate is really the correct word, manipulate our behavior. And some of this is, even if you are conscious, and I'm sure this came up in some of your AI podcasts, even if you are really conscious of trying to avoid your biases, it's literally impossible because your biases are built into the way you think.
Right.
And that's the ultimate conundrum. The temptation is we live in our brain. That's all we know, literally, right? I think, therefore I am. Famous saying. But that is the point. And the more I know who I am and I know who you are, the more capable we will have, greater capability we'll have of influencing each other.
Yeah.
Hopefully we do that in a benign way, but it's just as easy to say, no, let's take it in a different direction.
Yeah.